star. Yeah, it looks super weird.
Live from Mars, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Ask Engineer. It's me, Lady Ada, the engineer with me, Mr. Lady Ada, who is controlling the ornithopters on this dune planet that we live.
That's right.
We got an exciting show for you tonight. Lots of stuff going on. We have a break on 3D Hangouts, but still lots of new products,
Yeah,
tutorials, lots of tutorials,
talk about some current news and more.
API,
And,
some cool pictures. It's not actually as yellow as it
it's
seems.
not as yellow as it was
Um,
before. But we have some pictures from today here in New York City.
Yeah, where we
Just
do
all over the news is the number one most toxic air today.
Yay!
We're number one. Take that, Delhi, India.
Um, and in New York City is where we do all of our engineering and tutorial writing and viewing. We do our manufacturing here. We love this place, even when sometimes it's trying to kill us. So let's go straight into the show. What's on tonight's videos?
On tonight's show, the code is Audio BFF. Will make sense soon, but you can probably guess it's going to be one of our products. 10% off in native store all the way up to 11:59 tonight. Talk about some of our live shows, including Show and Tell. Thank you, Liz, for doing Show and Tell. We have a highlight from JP's product pick of the week. We have some Adafruit factory footage. Very cool, Ion and PI. Some live demos with top secret stuff from our Lady Ada. New products. We're going to answer your questions. We do that over on Discord, adafruit.it/Discord. Load up your questions. Probably the best time is towards the end, but if you want from there and ahead of time, it's cool. That's cool. All that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer. Okay, so let's first pay some bills. Code is Audio BFF. We have our freebies have been
Replenished.
restocked. So
That's right. $99 or more, you get the half-size Perma Proto breadboard. We've had that for quite a while. $149. We still have KB2040s and RP2040 microcontroller. That's Pro Micro pinout. It's got castellated pads, STEMMA QT, USB-C. Great for building all sorts of projects with a powerful chip that can do Arduino or Circuit Python or MicroPython. And back. You guessed it, the Circuit Playground Express makes its triumphant return. We have more in stock. We are slowly but surely getting those SAMD21 chips in, which lets us make these Circuit Playground Expresses. You know it, you love it. It's available if you order $2.99 or more in the shop, and then $1.99 or more you get for UPS ground shipping in the continental United States.
yeah. JP's product pick of the week, that is when we broadcast live from the product page where the discounts automatically applied. Here is this week's highlight. Take it away, JP.
The ADS1X15 ADC. This is the 16-bit one. This is the 1115. We also have the 1015, which is a 12-bit. This will give you up to 4 channels of high quality, high resolution analog to digital conversion. Perfect for knobs and sliders and soft potentiometers or other analog sensor reading needs. I'm going to be reading those knobs and turning those values into the frequencies we hear on a pair of sawtooth waveform oscillators. So here I wanted to tune a nice interval, and I can really fine tune that. Thanks to that high resolution of those ADCs. The ADS1X15 16-bit and 12-bit ADC breakouts with STEMMA QT.
And don't forget, JP's workshop is tomorrow. Tune into that. And then there is a deep dive with Tim on Fridays. Happy Pride Month, everyone. You'll notice, just like we do every single year, we have the flags going. The flags evolve each year, and so have we. So you can check out the progress flag that we have across the different pages on Adafruit. And as usual, we have some editorial. You can go to the blog right now and check out posts celebrating people in the community, historic figures, folks that have made a dent in this universe here. I thought this was kind of neat. Here's Usenet and Internet pioneer Marianne Martin. If you've ever used Usenet, you probably know
That's cool.
her work. So check this out all month long as we celebrate and more, and you'll
I
see,
would use that.
yeah, and you'll see some surprises and cool stuff across the blog and our social media properties. Um, because we were asked throughout the day today, we're like, hey, how's it in New York? So this is just straight off my iPhone, didn't do any filters or anything. This is normally where you can see the Empire State Building. So this is Lower Manhattan looking north. Right in the center is where Empire State Building is. Can't see that. Here is from the video in the beginning that you saw. This is just us on our way to the office. Or back. It's one of the two, and the sun was, pretty covered up by the clouds. Looks like around 1 o'clock or so is when it was orangey, and this is just going across the crosswalk. So we're wearing masks. All of our team members have KN95s. Um, we've had those since COVID, and we have high quality air filters at stations. Folks are
Smell does a nice HEPA filter.
Yeah, folks are free to use their paid time off, but they have any health issues, they've ran out of paid time off. We've said, hey, let us know. We'll juice you up so you can get out of here for any health reasons. So we're watching the situation. It looks like it's improved. This is what all of our lives have been in the last day. It's like watch out. So the red sections is unhealthy. People in California are kind of used to this with wildfires. This is somewhat new to New York. I think they're saying that the air quality in New York hasn't been like this since they've been measuring it. So this is where it peaked earlier today. And then as a public service, we reposted and posted up our guide. So this is from Brent, and Brent put together pretty
He's in
good.
Rhode Island and New York, so he's definitely
Yeah,
interested in.
So he put together a pretty good list of resources. We wanted to get the word out. So I put this on the social media places in our blog. This is where Brent put it. What's in the air? Information sensors and guides for building a DIY air quality sensor. So it's not too late. You might want to, consider building one of these because this is going to happen again. You can look at what AQI is. How does it correlate with the particulate matter in the air? Can you measure it yourself? Yeah, matter of fact, you can. What if you wanted to build something? And what if you wanted to make it open source? And what if you wanted to log it somewhere? So these are all the things that you can do pretty much right now.
You probably already have the components in your house.
Use the code Audio BFF to get 10% off to make some of these things on your own. So that's something we thought we would try to get out there. And this is going to happen again. And just the way things are going, we have air quality sensors at Adafruit CO2 sensors because we want to see how many people in there. We have AQI sensors to see what the index is around the building and more. And then, of course, everyone's hyper interested in this today, probably tomorrow and over the weekend because the fires in Canada are causing smoke to fill the air. Yeah, the air here. But turns out we're all connected. So, this is how it works out. So there's something on fire somewhere else. Eventually, it impacts you. So I don't know a good segue into the next topic.
Anyways.
But what I wanted to do is make sure we had something to link to because folks are going to ask us. So let me just start off with the following because I think this is the easiest way to do it. We're an open source hardware company. We do open source hardware. We'll always publish our files in whatever format we use to make open source hardware. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what tool you use. Doesn't matter. You can use KiCad. You could use Eagle. You can use Fusion. You can use Altium. Doesn't matter. What does matter is you're publishing the files with the tool that you made them with. Most of the tools have XML import, export, blah, blah, blah. But there's changes ahead. It looks like Eagle, no surprise by the way, is going to be ending in 2026. So on Ada, we're going to get asked a lot. What is Adafruit going to do? So
KiCad.
Ada, what are we going to do?
One thing to be clear, it's not like it's being deleted. The code is getting wrapped into Fusion 360. So right now I use a standalone application called Eagle 9. I double click Eagle 9, it opens up, I have my files, I do my routing, I try to make sure everything's correct, and I order, I export Gerbers and I send them off. It seems like in the next 3 years, what will happen is um, three, Fusion 360, which is their kind of electromechanical all-in-one, um, mechanical, electrical, like fusion system, or it's what's called fusion because you can design enclosures, you can design PCBs, and you put them together, and it like renders and everything, and it's beautiful, and you don't make mistakes. Eagle is going to be merged into that, which makes sense. Like Autodesk was probably like, we don't want to write our own electronics, uh, routing and management software. Is extremely hard to do. So instead, we're going to write Eagle and we'll integrate it. Um, so the idea of having a standalone double clickable Eagle app will end. You will have to use Fusion 360. That's actually not so bad. It's just like, okay, you have to just open another app, and then within that app, you could still have access to all of the Eagle access. And I don't know what the pricing is, but I'm assuming the pricing is equally as annoying, which it's a monthly or yearly subscription. It isn't like a buy once.
Yeah, there's going to be conversations about that.
Yeah.
About, okay, now you're stuck paying a monthly fee because that's where everything
I
moves
mean,
to.
I pay a monthly fee now anyways.
Yeah. The question, I think someone just mentioned in the chat that I had was, what's you going to do for folks on Linux?
I don't know. It's something you have to ask Autodesk. And
Yeah.
another thing is that, does
You run Windows on your.
I do on Windows because the vast majority of electronic software is written for Windows, whether you like it or not.
It's
I used
okay.
to run Linux as a kid.
It's okay to run Windows. We have Linuxy stuff everywhere. We do stuff for Linux. It's okay. You don't have to run Linux to run open source hardware, to make open source hardware. Sorry, but if you're using tools like Eagle and you're like, well, fine, I'll continue to stick with whatever it's going to be. Who knows?
So the good news is
Fusion
that
360 doesn't run.
it's a couple years away, so you have time to transition. If I want to move to KiCad from Eagle, now would be a good time. I might check out Fusion 360. On one hand, it's annoying that they don't have it available for all platforms, and maybe the software isn't as fast or whatever. On the other hand, I'm the only person at Adafruit doing electronics design right now, so it doesn't really matter. If I'm the only person using it, I should use whatever makes it easiest for me to design hardware, because that's what's most important to me. It's like, it's open source, it's an XML format, and it can be imported into KiCad if people desire. I could learn KiCad, but it's one of those things where all CAD software is equally bad. So use the one that you know best. I know this one best, and so I'm most comfortable with it. But like I said, it's an XML file format. You could always import it into something.
So I'll just try to ask like questions from like audience point of view, because I think that's going to be a thing. Okay, so Adafruit, you publish Eagle files.
Yeah.
And I can always, and I've been able to open them up with like the free version of EagleCAD, or like I've been able to look at them.
Yeah.
I've been able to import them. What's going to happen in 2026? What type of file are you going to publish?
Well, it's probably going to be called a Fusion 360 file.
Okay.
If I continue to use the electronics workflow within Fusion 360. Looking at the fact, it appears that there is a free viewer for Eagle 360, much like there's a free viewer for Eagle CAD now.
So you think that there's going to be Fusion 360 file format, and then like when people want to do stuff, they'll just get whatever free version of Fusion 360 is available or trial, and they'll be able to get these files.
I mean,
or an importer or exporter.
It's not like when people distribute KiCad files that's any easier to open and read if you haven't used KiCad before. Like all CAD files, people send me KiCad files and I've opened them in KiCad and I'm just like, I don't really know how to use the software. So it's not that different. I've opened Altium files. If you remember, we've had some experiences where verifying that Altium files really do contain all the open source hardware definition, the definition compliant hardware. It's kind of life. It's not my company, so I don't get to choose what Autodesk does. I'm glad that at least they're giving us plenty of lead time.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'll ask another audience questions. Okay, I'm just like you, lady. I use EagleCAD 9.
Yeah.
What happens when I double click it in 2027? Will it just stop working?
You'll be able to probably view things, but it will ping the server to get your certification, because it checks every 2 weeks to verify that
they're going to turn those servers off.
That will turn off, and so I don't know if Eagle will just not open, or if
Yeah.
it will open, but you won't be able to edit, which would be ideal because it should be cool if it ran, but just didn't let you edit. That said, at this time you can still download Eagle 7.7, which was the last CAD soft release. And
Still
that
downloaded. Did
you
that phone home? Did it?
that does not phone home
Okay.
because it's the pre-Autodesk integration. And I haven't checked whether 7.7 can open 9 files. Again, it's for viewing, not for editing, because if you want to edit, you would probably export it into KiCad anyways. I don't know.
Okay. Next question. Would we like take all? Would we do a conversion of all our files?
I would not convert any old files because I haven't. I still have stuff that's published as Eagle 5.
Yeah.
If it's old enough, like the Minty Boost files, it's Eagle
Yeah.
5. And
Those will probably always be importable into whatever, right?
yes, I mean, again, they're XML. They're always going to be readable. Um, and you can always download this, hopefully you'll always be able to download this Eagle 7.7 viewer. Viewing is not the issue. It's editing that might be, annoying. You probably will have to install Fusion 360, and that will be
Yeah.
not so fun. But on the other hand, Noe and Pedro use Fusion 360 all the time for their 3D stuff.
Yeah. And so I guess someone, if they wanted to be safe and they're in this industry, we just went through a whole reverse engineering project with Teddy Ruxpin stuff from like 2017.
Yeah.
It's kind of when we needed a Nexus 7. Might be a good idea.
Two Nexus 7.
Might be a good idea to squirrel away those copies of Eagle CAD 7.7
Yeah.
and just have it somewhere just in case. You know,
Yeah, I mean, I had to go through and actually check all these things because now there's actually a reason to do so.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, when the deadline comes, and if I absolutely can't stand Fusion 360, I'll just switch over to KiCad. It'll be annoying, but it'll take a couple months. I'll get better at it, and then
Yeah.
I'll eventually be able to crank out the same number of designs. It's just I'm comfortable with what I've got
Okay.
now.
Well, thanks for entertaining my questions, Lady Ada,
You're
because
welcome.
I think we're going to get asked the same questions over and over and over again, especially on Twitter and social media, where there's no history. It's like it's a new day. Someone else is gonna ask the same question, which is fine. But what I can do is I can send a link to this,
Yeah.
and one of the things as a community that we could ask for is hey, totally get it, Autodesk. You're it's your circus. You can do whatever you want. But what would be nice is something hey, we're not going to turn off the activation servers, or we're going to do something so if you have this thing that you bought, there's no updates, but it just works
Yeah,
essentially
I think
forever. That would be
I
nice.
think Eagle 7 was the last one where it did not phone home. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head. I'm not from my computer, but
Yeah.
ideally, for software preservation reasons, so to be able to read
Yeah.
these old files, it's good to always have the free viewer available. Definitely, I would suggest everybody grab a copy and keep it on the off chance that they remove it. I don't think that Autodesk is at all malicious, right? I think that this makes sense for them. They're like, why maintain two pieces of software?
Yeah, it's not like it's a person or there's a thing. It's investors and publicly held companies. And how many people do we have that use this other thing? Okay, great. Can we get them into this thing so we can show a quarterly profit? One of the things that's nice about being a company like Adafruit is we don't answer to shareholders. We do weird stuff. We hack teddy bears, publish the files and stuff like that. So they're kind of stuck. I get it. Don't like it. Get it though.
On the other hand, maybe one of the good things about Fusion 360 is I haven't done a lot of enclosure design, and maybe
Yeah.
having it integrated and rendered would make it easy for me to do 3D models of enclosures. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. And then lastly, I'll say this: Autodesk. Here's a huge opportunity to show how great it could be, and people could say, "Wow, I can't believe this is so inexpensive. This subscription thing. I get so much value. My designs are great. I can do so many more things with this tool because they decided to do this." Said no one ever, but it's an opportunity.
Well, I mean, I subscribe to Eagle now, and it's it is a yearly subscription, but it's worth it. I get the value.
Yeah. But they have a chance to migrate all these people over into something they have multiple years,
Yeah.
and people can say, "Wow, out of all the companies,
I also have to see if there's been more development on the electronics design on the side of Eagle. I think, Eagle, they stopped adding some functionality, but I think in Fusion 360, maybe they added more, and that would be cool. I mean, they did a huge amount of work up to the integration of Fusion 360. I mean, I'll be honest, like I'm in my cave. I'm running XEmax and Eagle 9 and, Atom, which is also discontinued. Like, I love using discontinued software.
Yeah.
And I've met, you went to see my parents, and my dad has his copy of LaTeX that, renderer that he's been using for the last like 15 years. And I'm like, hey, there's new LaTeX renderers. He's like, but this
Yeah.
one, I really like this renderer.
I think that there's and we'll move on to we have a lot ahead, but I think there's a couple different philosophies on how companies can do things with software. And it does seem like companies do have a choice. Like, yeah, we're not supporting that anymore, and we're not going to, maliciously turn it off. So you're forced to do something. Like if you have it and it's old, cool, whatever. We're not going to support it. It's not going to probably run on different operating systems. But if you want to have that old piece of software that works forever, that's on you.
Yeah.
I don't like it when they reach in and they're like, we're turning this off. Don't like that. Anyways, okay. So let's keep it moving. So remember when I was talking about how we're an open source hardware company, Lydia?
Yes.
And we are. So let's do some guides. You ready?
People are bad mouthing me about using XEmax in the chat. Okay.
All right.
But who has the most library code written? Me. So who cares about using the XEmax? I'm like, I'll tell you the thing about XEmax. It opens files very, very quickly. Very big files, very fast. And you can search very fast. About guides.
So we tried to get GitHub to tell us, it's like, hey, who does Lemoore have the most open source libraries? And they're like, well, we don't really want to tell you. It's because
I have the dumbest editing like software editing setup, but you know what? It works for me.
I've seen this trend. Prolific creators, they have their own way of doing things, and that's why they're prolific creators. And everyone who criticizes, I've never seen anyone who has more of the quantity of the thing you're talking about. They're like, why are you doing this way?
There's been times when Phil, I love him dearly, but he has looked at me at using my computer and he's like, you're using your computer wrong.
Yeah.
How are you done?
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's a little hoardy.
Yeah. Okay, so we have some guides.
Yeah, we got some good guides. Anne published her second in a series of 3 or 4 on how to make wearable badge PCB art. The first one was a very simple floppy disk earring, very cute, and she stepped it up this time, adding battery, switch, and LEDs to make a light up NASA badge. I think the meatball logo is a perfect PCB badge to experiment with. So check it out. She's learning a lot and publishing everything. And I've never seen any guide that has this much information about how to actually create like your very own first PCB badge with like really cool silk screen and solder mask and everything. Liz did a new synth. Liz is like the person allowed to make synthesizers here. Her and JP are the synth resident synth heads. We got these cool ANO rotary encoders with like navigation switches, rotary encoder, and a button, like old iPod classics. And we finally had the I2C version in the shop. And she was like, I want to do like a weird sequencer. And I was like, go to town. You got this really weird interface. Make the weirdest synthesizer. And she made a circle of fifth Euclidean synth. What does that even mean? I don't know. But like, look at it. It's got red, orange, teal, green, blue, white, alphanumeric. You've got 5 of those like cool rotary encoders. You got something like bicolor matrix bleeping over here. Play, whatever. Check it out. It's cool and funky, and I bet the video is very good. Liz also published the Adafruit Neo driver, which is our I2C and NeoPixel converter board. Very handy when you have a Le Potato board. Apparently, that exists. Stuff that uses Allwinner or Rock Chip or x86 or whatever. Doesn't use the Raspberry Pi chipset. You wanted to control NeoPixels. It's very hard to do that from a single board Linux computer. But if you add this, suddenly, I2C and NeoPixels makes it very easy. Liz has chosen to pick this guy because she wrote a book about the Asus Tinker board, which is, a Raspberry Pi killer that didn't quite kill the Raspberry Pi, but it did its best. So she had a lot of experience with that.
Got Liz a job at Adafruit.
And that it did.
Yeah. One of the things maybe.
It's the XEmax of her lifetime. From Eva, we've got her guide for a Clue shot timer. Eva does sports shooting, and you want to see how fast you can shoot targets in sports shooting. And so this timer uses a microphone. Very cool project. She learned a lot.
And I think all of these are ones that we went over like
No,
last
with the Feather DVI guide.
Do you guys know?
That's new.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Kenny was on holiday, came back and finished the DVI guide. It's massive. You can use the Feather DVI with Arduino or CircuitPython. Yeah, if you scroll, it'll scroll forever. Yeah, you'll never end. Keep going.
Information that you can learn for free at Adafruit.com.
And then Patriot Dragon actually just did an update too to the DVI, the Pico DVI library in Arduino to make it so you can start and stop, which is important because we need that for Jepler's upcoming CPM tutorial guide. And then JP finished his computer perfection synthesizer guide as well. Uses it reuses this old computer perfection game, and people are probably like, how could JP destroy this historic monument to technology? First off, he actually did a really good job showing how you can reuse the circuit board without damaging anything. It can totally be turned back into a 1970s weird simple
Most, if not all, of the things that we get off eBay and like yard sales, it's already broken. It's heading towards the landfill.
Yeah.
So if something, of course, is like mint condition, pristine, that should go in like a old tech museum or something. But this is just like old broken toys.
Here's the thing:
you want to put a new life on it.
All of them smell like cigarette smoke too. Like,
it's true.
It's just they're stanky.
Yeah.
But he turned into a very cool synthesizer. All this, this and Liz's guide are both using Jepler's new Synth.io library in CircuitPython, which is extremely cool. And lets you make really funky synthesizers using like native LFOs and filters, and plugging little pieces together. And it's neat because I don't do anything with synthesizers. Neither does Jepler, and that's why it's perfect for us to work on this project because we cannot be seduced by the seductive power of synthesizers forever. Instead, Liz and JP do them.
So we have a video from Liz, and then I'm going to roll right into some factory footage, and then we'll do some INPI. So here we go.
Did you know that you can build synths with CircuitPython now? In this project, you'll build synthesizers that celebrates all things circular: the circle of fifths, Euclidean rhythms, and rotary encoders. 4 synth voices play random notes in a triad to the beat of a determined Euclidean rhythm animated on an 8x8 matrix. Euclidean rhythms are derived from an algorithm that determines how to spread the number of steps over a number of beats as equally as possible. You can build some complex polyrhythms this way that sound really interesting. With the ANO rotary encoders, you can scroll through the circle of fifths on each synth voice to change the triad chord for easy modulation between keys. The code is written in CircuitPython with the Synth.io module and runs on a Feather RP2040. The synth has multiple modes that are accessed and controlled with the ANO rotary encoders. Alphanumeric displays let you see various parameters depending on the mode, such as BPM and filter values. See how you can build your own synthesizer by checking out the Learn Guide at learn.adafruit.com.
That's our factory footage. So before we get going over to NPI, don't forget the code is Audio BFF. It will pay for an air purifier for our apartment. and air purifiers for the staff. We have plenty, but maybe we should pick up more.
More filters. Well, the filters we're going to have to change out
Yeah.
every day or two.
All right, so it's just my NPI.
On NPI.
NPI brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. Thank you, DigiKey. This week it is from
Vibronics. We've never featured Vibronics on an NPI.
Some cool logo.
They do have a cool logo. This is a company, they make vibrating motors, ERMs or LRAs, and you're like, what are those? We're going to tell you all about them. So this is the featured product. This is a rectangular LRA, but they have the whole INPI is because they have a whole series of LRAs available at DigiKey, and I've never really known the difference between LRAs and ERMs, what they're for. The specific part number we're covering is the VLV152564. Those numbers are like, probably just the sizing of the board. You see it's like 6.4 millimeters, that's 64. And then 25 is 25 millimeters by 15 millimeters. So 15 by 25 by 6.4 millimeters. It's actually, batteries are also labeled the same way. So these are LRAs. They're linear resonant actuators. That's what it stands for. And these are vibrating motors that are enclosed into like a little rectangular case that can be put into your product and design to add tactile feedback. Looks like it also can be used as a bone conduction transducer if desired. But what it's really good for is adding little clicks and tacks and ticks to your product for haptic feedback. This particular one is, just having some stats here. The resonant frequency, when you use your driver, just make sure you can drive an 8 ohm impedance. So it's quite low. You'll need quite a bit of current. And the resonant frequency is about 80 hertz. So set up your driving frequency to set the AC voltage at about 80 hertz, and that will get you the best reaction. Okay, so what is haptic feedback? Because I was actually kind of researching what is haptics and when was it used. So this is like a very early haptics patent that I found off of, linked off of Wikipedia. And basically, it was often used for when you have an electronic interface to something that's mechanical. It used to be mechanical, and you want to give feedback to the user to let them know when they've hit a limit or there's something that would give them negative feedback towards their position movement. What it's often used for was aviation. So historically, if you look at old videos of airplanes, you'd have a yoke, right? This is the control interface for the plane, and the yoke would be mechanically connected to, I think they're called ailerons or flaps, I think is what we call them when we don't know what we're talking about. The flaps on the wings and the flaps on the tail and the rudder to help steer which way you want the plane to go. This is what, an old plane, the rudder cables look like. And those would literally be like strung from the flaps to the cockpit, and then you'd control the yoke. And what was really nice about this is that you could feel the vibrations and movement of the air through those cables. It was both directions. Like as you pulled and pushed and twisted the yoke, you could feel how the cables and the rudder would fight against you. That was your force feedback. So you kind of knew what your airspeed was. Turbulence obviously shakes the whole thing, but you get a sense of how your plane is moving and how it's reacting to the air, which can help you become a better pilot and avoid issues like accidentally crashing to the ground. However, the problem with having direct connections to the rudder cables is that you need to be very strong. Like if you have a lot of force in the air fighting against you, you have to really like push against the yoke or pull it or twist it in order to fight the air that's, on the other side of the rudder that's pushing against you. You have to be very strong. And like if you're in trouble, like if you're in a storm, you might be running out of strength, and then you could get in trouble because you can't fight against that air pressure anymore. So to simplify and also allow things like autopilot, we have the creation of fly-by-wire. This is like this is actually from like NASA, this photo, which is kind of cool. You can tell that
anything digital had to use the check
Yeah, the
font.
check font.
Yeah, this is the font I use for
I
hacking.
never actually worked with Digital Equipment Corporation, or whether it's just digital. It was like just the check font.
Yeah.
But this is the NASA fly-by-wire. Also, again, as you get into more and more complicated airplanes, people, like one yoke in the buttons was not enough. You had to have everything automated, as people actually had a shout at being able to control it. But in addition, this is from Ready Player One.
I thought this was from the Apple keynote from like yesterday.
Oh, sorry. Dang.
It's only $3,500.
So in addition to aeronautics, and also automobiles are also drive by wire, and so you'll have force feedback in those. But a second use case is for entertainment. So this is this famous haptic suit from the Ready Player One movie and book, and it's covered all over with haptic feedback interfaces, maybe LRAs from Vibronics, so that when you fight or run or chase or whatever. Play games in the metaverse, you would feel it on your body, and so it gives you a strong connection to this virtual world you're in. So that's of course a movie recreation. The first commercial haptics vest was this thing called like the Aura Interactor, which I thought was neat. It was kind of like a wearable subwoofer, and you could see it's like feel, punches, explosion, kicks, uppercuts, slam dunks, crashes, and more. So it was for gaming.
Yeah.
Gaming, often has new technology. Like there was these VR haptic suits, but they were very, very expensive. But gaming is actually kind of where this haptic technology.
Fun side story. If you go through a really deep rabbit hole, I made a version of Operation on the Pocket PC that would send sound to a vest I was wearing. So if you messed up taking me apart in Operation, I would get jolted in the vest. And this was 20 years ago.
This is a long time ago. This is like 90, 95. And then 97, also gaming included, since this is like a screenshot from, for people who remember from the Nintendo 64, they introduced the Rumble Pack, which would have force feedback on the controller when you played Nintendo games. And this is an iFixit teardown of the DualShock, and the DualShock is another controller. So I'm kind of making my way through the history of tactile feedback and what it was really commonly used for. And you can see on the bottom there, to the bottom left, in the palm holding section of the controller, there are these two circular motors, and they have this kind of half disc cut and attached onto the motor. The motors are round, and then the half disc is kind of half moon shaped. And these are called ERMs, so eccentric rotating motors. And here's an eccentric rotating motor from Vibronics. They can be any size. You take any DC motor and you put an eccentric weight on it. It's not symmetric, and so as it rotates, it vibrates, and that gives you that force feedback. And eccentric rotating motors are very popular for use with, say, your phone will vibrate when you have a call. They're very good for like big vibrations. So like that Interactor vest or your Rumble Pack. It is a rumble feeling. What they're not really good for is click feelings. So a lot of people these days, you probably have a mobile phone, and you use the on-screen keyboard, and you may notice that as you're typing on the on-screen keyboard, you get this tactile feedback, this click-tack sound and feeling into your fingers, and it helps make the clear glass surface feel more like, okay, I'm actually pressing a button, even though you're not, of course, technically pressing a button. I remember the Kindle was also an early use of tactile feedback. When you clicked the next page, the Kindle would kind of vibrate a little bit to let you know that you've switched the page. So a good way, as more surfaces are becoming capacitive touch, clear glass, you want to have some tactile feedback, you'll want to use something like an ERM. An LRA. ERMs are good for vibrations. LRAs are better for tactiles because they're faster. You're not, for the motor, if you're spinning up the motor to move this eccentric weight, you have to kind of get the motor going, and you have to slowly ramp it up. And they can be fairly fast, but they're not going to be as fast as an LRA. And here's an LRA cross-section from Vibronics. You can see it's a lot more complicated to build, so they're going to be a little bit more expensive. But inside, there's a spring, and there's the weight, and there's a magnet. And then when you put the AC voltage across it, and that's another thing, you need to use an AC voltage, not DC voltage, the magnet will vibrate up and down. So the magnet will vibrate up and down, making the weight vibrate up and down. The spring will push back on it. And you've got this very quick tactile feeling that, as you remember from the data sheet, can activate within 80 hertz. And I'll show the video because it's kind of cool. There's an X-ray on the DigiKey website from Vibronics showing this product, and you can see inside the spring, and then the weight and the magnet. The springs are also used for passing the current through, and that's what causes the LRA to vibrate. So Vibronics shows a bunch of products it's used for. So you can see this is like some Samsung phones. They also had it in like one of the Nexus tablets. What a coincidence, Nexus is everywhere. Usually you don't solder to the tabs, though there are some solder tab ones. It looks like it's common to have spring contacts, and that lets the motor vibrate from within like the cavity in your product. And it gives the case, it makes the case kind of a larger resonant cavity for the vibration of the LRA. You will need something to drive it. Again, you can't use it with DC voltages like you can with the ARMs. ARMs are much simpler. LRAs, you need AC voltage. There's a couple that are recommended. The one that I've used is the TI DRV 2605, which is in stock at DigiKey. It's very easy to use, and it has I2C input. And then, we have a breakout as well. You can connect your LRA or ERM on the output. And particularly neat about the DRV 2605, you do pay a little bit more, but it has this cool collection of waveforms that are built in, and they're licensed waveforms that you get a free license for when you purchase the chip. So the motions, like the clicking and the bumping and the transitioning, so it's like, whoop, click, click, all that stuff with different strengths, already pre-programmed into the DRV 2605. So it's really, really easy. I mean, yes, you could DIY this yourself with an H bridge and a little bit of work, but instead you can just use the DRV 2605 and get started very quickly. And it will work with any of the Vibronics LRAs.
Available on DigiKey.
They're in stock. And there's a bunch of different ones. This is just the one that we, this is the featured one, but check out, they have like a huge range of different sizes and shapes. There's round ones, there's square ones, there's rectangular ones. And then we've got a cool video.
Yeah, this is what you wanted to show.
Which maybe you can hide us. It shows an X-ray as they inspect the vibration. You can see how
cool.
quickly it activates. I mean, it's like basically instantaneous, as you can get sharp clicking effects that are harder to get with an ERM.
All right.
Okay.
This is this week's NPI.
on NPI.
Okie dokie, we're gonna jump right into new products. Before we do that, Dakota's audio BFF video to kick it. Okay, a little reminder, we have Circuit Playgrounds back in stock. I just wanted to mention that before we jump into.
We've got some cool rotary encoders. Rotary encoders, usually they come in small sizes, but someone pointed out these awesome large CNC rotary encoders. These are 60 millimeters in diameter. They've got 100 clicks per rotation, which actually makes sense if you're using it for CNC, because you'll want to get, 1/100th of an inch or 100th of a centimeter or 100th of a meter. They have a nice clicky feel. On the bottom, you have terminal blocks that are really easy to wire to, and you get your standard rotary encoder kind of grade code out. The VCC can be like any voltage, I think. Basically, it just is the other side of the positive connection. And the ground is, your reference ground, and then A and B tick up and down. So use any rotary, 2-wire rotary encoder library. There's also on the bottom, if you look really quickly.
Go to the other color.
The other, yeah. There's A and B is duplicated. At the bottom, there's negative A and negative B. Sometimes you want like the opposite polarity. They're also available. And we have them in silver and in black. I believe you can remove that little knob if you want it to be just like something you grab with your fingers.
This is cool.
But yeah, originally used for CNC machines. So let me show a quick demo. But these are very satisfying to use.
Clicky, 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 clicky.
Okay, so let me autofocus.
All right.
Okay, so this is the rotary encoder, and I just quickly wired this up to a feather. There's some mounting holes here. I believe the data sheet has the mounting orientation. It has a really nice heavy feel. It's really hefty. And the clicks, you can really feel the clicks. They're very strong. So this is good for precision work, but you can also rotate it very quickly. And then let me just plug in my demo. One moment. USB-C goes here.
Is the big knob removable or is it permanent?
The big knob is not, just the little knobule. Okay, so this is my little demo written in CircuitPython. I'm using the rotary encoder library.
It sounds just like the sound that I have for Top Secret.
Yeah, it is. It's like it sounds like
I should put a mic on that.
it's reminiscent of like
Like a safe.
a safe. It has that same clicky feel, or no, Masterbox didn't have the clicky feeling, but like yeah, it definitely vibrates as you move it, and
This is nice.
it's nice. It's easy to get. Yeah, it's easy to get precision. And of course you can. What's nice about the wheel is that you can.
Yeah,
you
I
have to
mentioned this would be good for a escape room.
Yeah, you can like rotate this super fast.
that's
That's what this knob is for. So its precision is this way, and speed is this way. So two colors, silver and black. Very
okay.
cool. I love this stuff.
Okay, next up.
Next up, we've got from Monk Makes. Monk Makes has written many a guide and a tutorial for Adafruit, and is very skilled at making really high quality hardware. And I really like this very simple 4-way MOSFET switch. It's a big PCB, but it kind of does everything you want with controlling solenoids or motors. This is for, I think he designed it originally for people doing model train stuff where you have to turn on and off 12 volts, switches constantly, and they might be inductive or they might be LEDs. 2 amp MOSFETs. Each one has protection flyback diode. It also has a really cool feedback LED, and it has a terminal block input, terminal block outputs. So I'll show you on the overhead.
Sure.
Hold on, I gotta zoom this out because this is a big demo.
Okay.
Yep. So what I've got here. Hold on. There's so much on here. Thank you. Thank you, my fine assistant. So I have, my Metro Mini, which is an Arduino compatible, and it's just sending the PWM signals, and the PWM signals go into the header here. So I'm only using 3. That's why there's like one hole missing. So you have here red, green, blue, and brown. That's ground. So that goes in. That's the signal. So PWM signal goes in. Then you need the power. So the high voltage power up to 16 volts comes into the terminal block. I've got it here through a DC jack, and then when I plug this in and unplug it, this little yellow LED, which is the light bulb, lets me know that the power is good. But I think it's nice is this extra little detail here. You see the PWM outputs are also visible as these little LEDs to let me know that that terminal block is activated. So this is connected to an RGB LED strip, which requires 12 volts and an amp of power. The 12 volts comes into here and is switched by these MOSFETs so that this signal is 3-volt logic or 5-volt logic, whatever, safely goes in and turns on and off. This is PWM'd at high speed, the high voltage 12-volt power coming into the terminal block. So I'm using it for high power LED driving, but also really good for solenoids, relays, pumps, unidirectional motor control, kind of anything that you need to do up to 16 volts and 2 amps.
Okay, start the show besides you later. Oh, no, wait, there's one more.
One more. We've also got, as a partnership with Tomorrow Lab, we have this cool hack box. It's meant to be used with PyLeap, our application that allows you to do no-code programming with the Adafruit clue board. And we've got a bunch of projects that you can do. Tomorrow Lab will be releasing. We've got the clue. We've got RGB LED with NeoPixels that clip on, so you can do addressable LED projects. Clip-on servo and servo driver, so you can do little robotics projects. Portable battery pack and enclosure batteries. Looks like some fun stickers from Tomorrow Labs. USB cable and a lanyard for making portable projects. We've linked from the product page to the PyLeap guides that you can follow along, and also DigiKey will be doing some workshops with these.
Okay, now, this time I mean it. The start show besides you, Lady Ada, our team, our customers, and everyone who makes these things go in the community is
The I2S amp BFF. I love these BFFs. We have our Cutie Pie boards, and Seed has their Shao boards, and maybe you want to be making very small projects. Well, we've had a bunch of BFFs that add NeoPixel level shifting, that add battery support. We have one that's coming out with iSpy. And one of the things that I thought would be really useful is to be able to have high quality audio come out, because a lot of the Cutie Pies that we have don't have analog outputs. And maybe you want to make a little music player or a prop or some toy that makes audio sounds. So this I2S amplifier is a great 3-watt amp. It uses 3 pins. And on the ESP32 and RP2040 and NRF52840, Cutie Pie and Shao boards, you can use any pins. I will say this doesn't work in this configuration with the SAMD21. It could work, but you'd have to cut the traces and rewire it. And let me see if I've got my demo. So let's go to the overhead again. I don't know if this will work, but we'll try. If not, I can just show it off. Oh yeah. Okay, so I've got music coming out of here, so you can hear the audio. So this is actually streaming using the ESP32, and it's connected to an MP3 server that's streaming our frequency
That's so cool.
record that Tom White did. He was CEO here at Adafruit. So it's streaming the audio out, and it's sending the data over I2S, which is digital, which then is connected to this Molex Pico Blade connector. So to keep it nice and small, we're using Molex Pico Blade. You can, I just grabbed one in the shop. We have the little pigtails, and I soldered it to this 4-ohm 3-watt speaker, which is the max you can drive with this. By default, it's set up to be stereo. So you see this R and L. You leave them empty, and it means it's mixing the left and right channels to make a stereo output, which will sound great for 99% of use cases. If you ever just want the left or right channel, you would solder one of those bridges closed. It's also connected to A0, A1, and A2 for the data pins. So in the back, I think, the default is D, it is A0. Left, right, word select A1, and bit clock is A2. But you can cut these traces, and then there's these little pads you can solder to, and you can solder little wires if desired to connect to other pins. Again, for the SAMD21, you'd have to do that. What's nice is the RP2040, ESP32 series, and the NR52840 can use any pins for I2S. So, you can use those defaults, or you can change them as desired. And it gets you nice, high quality digital audio. So if you want to make music players, I mean, again, this one is streaming, but what you could do is, especially on the RP2040, which has 8 megabytes of onboard storage with the QSPI flash in CircuitPython, you can easily play fairly long audio clips. It even supports MP3 through I2S. Arduino also has some I2S support, but it's not as good, honestly, as CircuitPython, which kind of, we've really tried to make it have first-class support for streaming MP3 or WAV files. This ESP32 demo is an Arduino. It's just one of the demos that I found published for I2S MP3 streaming, and that works fine too. You can also use 8-ohm speakers, but 4-ohm 3-watt will get you the most audio. So for like $5, you've got digital quality audio coming out with a Class D amplifier. I really love the Max 98 357 chip on here. It's a very good quality audio amplifier, and it makes for a lovely little board to add to your Stomach UT or Shao.
That's new products.
New.
Okay, well, don't forget, the code is Audio BFF. You can get one of those. That's such a cute little BFF. We're gonna do some top secret.
Yeah, I just had a couple boards that showed up. I thought we could show them all. One I lost already.
Okay, so this week's top secret, Lady Ada. While you're looking for these things, want me to go to the overhead?
Yeah, go ahead. I think I showed this one. So people are probably going to ask, hey, for the audio board, what if you added a micro SD card slot? I do have a prototype that has the micro SD and I2S amplifier. We were out on holiday last weekend, so I didn't get to test this. But there will be a version. It's very compact. It's not as configurable, right? Like you can't cut the traces because first of all, it uses almost all the pins. And second, there's just no space for anything else. But you can put in a micro SD card, and then play stuff over I2S. And then I got some other boards. I got this SGP41. This is kind of cool. This is a gas sensor that also does NO2 or NOx sensing, not just volatile organic compounds. And then, I've fallen behind a little bit on catching up on all the time of flight sensors available from ST. So this is the VL53L5CX. This is the one that does an 8x8 grid. So it'll be cool. Arduino support I know exists from ST. I'll see if we can get CircuitPython support going as well.
Okay. I need, as someone noted, the top secret logo is.
It's well, I mean,
yeah, we had this go, and that's top secret for this week. Okay, I had a couple of questions lined up. You can put them in the chat. We will get to all of them. We were answering some along the way, but we'll, we'll do the thing.
Drop them in the Discord.
Yeah, you can put them there. Okay.
For the next few minutes.
So first, Blade Data, can you adjust the spring strength of the
D10s?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'll be honest, I did not open this up. You might be able to. You might be able to remove the D10s. I don't know if you can change the strength.
Are there enough BFFs now to make a little cutie pie BFF board cube?
You could. Yeah, I think we have 6 total BFFs, right?
Cool.
At least soon. We have the micro SD, the battery, the NeoPixel, the I2S amp. I don't know what else we got. We got a couple on a cutie pie.
Yeah. What's the 3-volt NeoPixel board that we were talking about? Is that the
there's a cutie pie BFF NeoPixel, and so that's for going on the back of the cutie pie, and it gives you like a 5-volt boosted output. And we also put in the Neo driver, which is an I2C to NeoPixel converter.
Okay. If you had to guess, this was a question for me. If you had to guess, how many files, Eagle CAD files, do you think you published online?
Well, I know we have about 550 designs because I keep track of that.
Yeah. We have at least that. We have 600 plus certifications on Oshawa.
Yeah, because I think sometimes if I make a big enough revision, so maybe 600 different designs. Yeah, that 600 is probably
Yeah.
500,
Okay.
600.
Any issues putting the cutie pie and the BFF close to the speaker magnet?
I would keep it away in case the EMF is affected. I mean, the Class T amp is designed to not have EMF issues, and we put a filter on it. I wouldn't put it right next to the speaker, especially near an antenna, just in case it has an effect on it. But you could, have the wire going away.
Okay.
What's a
I was gonna call it. Yeah, we needed to get out of here at 9 this week, and we're gonna do it. So thanks for the questions.
That's it.
Don't forget the code is Audio BFF. That'll get you one of these 10% off that you saw. So fun and cool. Special thanks to Zay.
Make tiny little audio projects.
Yeah. Special thanks to Zay running things behind the scenes in our Adafruit Slack, helping out, and more. All of our customers, all of the community, everyone on the Adafruit team, friends, people online. Happy Pride Month. Stay safe. Keep those masks. You never know when you'll need them again. Like we are in New York. This has been an Adafruit production. Here is your moment of Zener. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.